Jennifer Tift, myself, Ryan Reister, and Superintendent Josh. Kayla, would you please read the mission?
The mission of the Rutland Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Educational plan is done, right? Yep. All right, public comment, open it up. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Regular agenda.
We gotta approve the- Sorry.
Motion to approve the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bryan, seconded by Ms. Tiff. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, we'll open this up to public comment. Nothing? All right. Moving on, recognitions and upcoming events.
So probably the most significant things that are going on is our open houses that are throughout all the buildings coming up here. I believe they get started tomorrow, here at the high school, and then they kind of rotate more or less throughout the entire system. So everybody's been preparing for that. Last year, I know that we had really good attendance at those, particularly, I know they're real pleased with the high school here last year. They had like 80 or 85% of the families were represented. So that's probably the biggest thing that's going on. The other thing, I guess it's time for us to just recognize all of our student athletes that are in everything that's underway. I don't know the exact number of kids who are participating this fall. When I checked with Mr. Hartman earlier, it was about 350. And I believe that number has increased since that time. So it's nice to see kids that are involved. They've been very busy already. I know the boys soccer team, they opened with a match last week. Tennis has been out and about, so girls volleyball, they're on the road a couple times this week, and we have a home football game on Friday. So it's a beautiful week to be outside, so people have the opportunity to come and do that. That's a nice thing to do before school starts on a nice, cool, it's nice to say nice and cool day that's coming up.
The 350, is that include, maybe I should back up, has activities started yet as to like band, choir and all that? So you're just talking about
Sports.
Sports because of the early registration and the
Yep.
beginning of the programs before school starts.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so those are all kids that are actively participating in extracurricular activity.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
The other big thing is you got school started.
For my part, school's already started.
Never ends.
You know, in a lot of ways, but it is absolutely right around the corner. Buildings are all prepared, I think everything's ready there. We're short a teacher yet at the high school, that we've got a little bit of concern there. I believe Mr. Fuchs has a workaround for that, at least temporarily, we'll always seek some other solutions. But overall, I think we're in pretty good shape. I've got a few more things I'll add when I get down to superintendent.
Excuse me. Is that what you're gonna add about today?
Yep.
Okay. I'm kind of listening to hear about that.
Enrollment. We'll get to that too. All right.
We're getting the cart ahead of
I thought that was a question. All right. Does anyone have anything else to add on recognitions, upcoming events? All right, we'll move forward to the administrative reports.
All right, so the administrative reports, as we've said, I mean, there's just been a lot of work that's been done. Custodians are finishing up in each of the schools. Welcome back conferences are coming up. There's a lot of curriculum that's new this year, so between, I guess, in the elementaries, it's primarily the math that is new this year, and then they're really getting going on that. It's gonna be kind of fun to see, the differences that can make for us. So that's really the biggest thing. I'll review some stuff as far as enrollment as we end up going. Twin Bluff has probably had the most significant disruption in how things go because they've had Kids Junction there all year, so they are literally moving stuff and cleaning stuff and drying and then moving it all back, so they're really doing a nice job there, and that's not easy. And 350 kids have registered for fall activities. Homecoming, they've got that planned already, so homecoming week is the 22nd to the 27th. And homecoming football game, tailgating on the 26th. So again, we'll be looking for some nice weather there as that goes. Community ed, there's all kinds of things that have been going on throughout. So I mean, overall, just it's been very, very busy. There is absolutely no downtime as far as getting ready for school year. It's been very good.
With that, we'll move on to committee updates.
So first, culture camp. This is an aid from the American Indian Heritage Council. And so that was last week, and I know last minute we were all invited to go. So Johnny gave me the dates for next year. So it will be August 18th through the 20th. It's from 9 to 3, but on the last day it's from 9 to noon, yeah. So it was really, I got out there for a couple of hours, a couple of times. It was really interesting to see the kids, but also they're doing all kinds of learning stations about their Dakota culture, and I was able to participate in some of that. So I learned some cool things, more about our kids and families, and so even if you could only run up there for a couple of hours, it's really a great community building opportunity. And then for Goodhue County Ed District, I have a meeting this Thursday, but from our last meeting, which was after our last board meeting, the fund balance for the Ed District is getting to an uncomfortable level. So they're anticipating a possible cash flow issue in November. The Superintendent's Council is working with Sherry to determine a solution to,
Bridge it out.
bridge the gap. That is fair to all members, so.
So with that, she said we've got, the fund balance, the percentages is going down. Overall, the total fund balance has stayed relatively stable, but as expenditures have risen, then that number is certainly a smaller percentage as it goes forward. So right now, it's gone down to somewhere between 4% and 5%. What we don't want to do is end up letting that get too low, because then if they run into some sort of issues as the member districts, we end up being responsible to help fix that. So collaboratively, the superintendents, business managers, and Sherry Johnson, we're working to find a solution where everybody's got some skin in the game to be able to cover the cash flow gap that is expected sometime in that October, November. And it just ends up being, again, it's cash flow as far as our overall expenditures. Nothing will end up changing there. It's just when we end up paying something. So
It's like a cash advance.
so what we're talking about, and this is not fully vetted here yet, but what we were talking about was each school district paid 1 month in advance. So that way they've got cash on hand to be able to meet their needs. That's not the final plan, but that's most likely.
Did they talk about a plan going forward?
So going forward, and I'll. it's okay
No,
if
go
I-
ahead, yes, I
Okay.
defer to you.
So that's something that the superintendents we talked about the other day, we want to make sure that we have a plan going forward. We don't want that fund balance to just all of a sudden increase you know, because that it screws up everybody else. So what we're looking at is creating a plan to slowly bring that fund balance up by 1% or 2% on an annual basis until it gets to at least 7%. If it gets up to 14%, then there's money that ends up coming back to the member district. So kind of that sweet spot is that 7 to 10% area there. So that's kind of what we're looking. We've got some ideas, but we need to sit down with the business managers to make sure that we're taking into account the things that we. I do believe that we'll have a plan in place, probably by the end of September, I would imagine this. So I do think we can come up with a reasonable solution.
This wasn't something that just happened
No,
overnight.
this has been going on, I mean, the fund balance has been going down over the course of time. So, like I say,
Expenditures going up.
yeah, so we just wanna make sure that we're cognizant of it, because what we don't wanna have happen is all of a sudden GCDD ends up lower than they need to be. Bills gotta be paid, and as member districts, we're the ones who end up being responsible, so we wanna have a good plan in place, so we're just working on that.
Any other committee updates? Okay. Move forward to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A second.
All right, motion by Teresa Dornstedt, seconded by Kayla Anderson. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? So moved, motion passes. All right. Donations and grants.
So we have two donations that are here. First one is from Scott and Ann Jones, in the amount of $10,125. So as we've been working with Dwight Dirks, we've been working with a consultant to help develop this plan. There was a fee for that consultant, and the Jones agreed to pay that consultant for us. So that way we did not have to use any district funds for that, so that was greatly appreciated. And the Revenue Booster Club has donated $10,889.82 to the athletic department and football team. So both very generous donations, so we appreciate those, and we're gonna do our best to make sure they go to good use.
Make a motion, to pass the resolution?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote, Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Mr. Armstead?
Aye.
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
And Ms. Stiff? Aye. And I will also vote aye. Resolution passes. All right. Superintendent comments.
Okay, so today, we were very fortunate to have Dwight Dirks visit our staff as we had our district kickoff today. Went well, had the opportunity to visit with him a little bit outside of work, and that was really enjoyable. He has a passion to help our student body, help them achieve in the areas related to artificial intelligence, coding, data intelligence, just a lot of good pieces that are really very important for us. So we're thankful for the donation that we accepted last month in the amount of $3.2 million. Now is when our work really has to begin. We've got a lot to do there. The nice thing about this is he truly wants to help. It's not one of those situations where there's a lot of strings that are attached to this. He's just looking to make things better for our Redmond community. So I'm very thankful for that. He spoke for about 15, 20 minutes or so this morning. That was well received, so that was a nice deal. So very good. Kind Coming up here, and I'm gonna mention this now just because I always worry about when we get to the end of upcoming meetings, but on Thursday, September 4th, we have a meeting with Prairie Island Tribal Council. So we'll be thinking about who can go to that. That is at 11 a.m. So by the time we get to the end here, we'll find out who's able to go to that, and we'll be able to go from there. The audit preparation is underway. Lisa Ryder is still assisting us at this time. Chris Mubick is knee deep in this as well, so he's dug right in. The auditors will be here the week of September 15th, so that's all really right around the corner. Visiting with Chris today, they're pretty close as far as being prepared for what needs to be done. Every year you have to submit your summer levy information system. You have to go through and get everything on the levy. Chris has completed that here this week, so that's right there. Anyway, got that just about done. So we've been able to work through that, so that's been helpful. Let's see. Coming up, and this will again be some upcoming meetings that we'd like to just kind of put in your ear, but I'd like to start the process of what the 26-27 school year can look like as far as our configuration. The primary goal as we get started in this is to be able to implement a universal P4 program. So for a 4-year-old preschool, right now we are looking at many options as we can, try to get this condensed down, have a finite concrete plan in place by January. That way, when we're working into our budget for the next year, we can take all of those things into consideration. Right now, I've put together a committee of people from representation from each of the buildings, and I'd like to ask a couple of board members if they would be interested in participating on that. Even if you cannot attend the meeting, I'd like to have a couple people identified that I can use somewhat as a sounding board from that side. We are going to meet this Thursday at 1 o'clock. So if anybody's interested in that, we can have 2, perhaps 3 if you wish. So
I can volunteer too. I'm not sure I can make every meeting, but you usually it's some.
yeah, and we'll kind of, so Therese, you're interested there, so okay, appreciate that. There's a lot of work to be done there as we move forward, and it's important, so. And right now, right now, news regarding enrollment is really very positive. When we did our projected budget back in June, we were anticipating 2,172 kids. That's the number that we plugged into all our budget projections. As of today, we have 2,252. That's 80 more kids that are enrolled than we anticipate. High school, to date, last spring, I think they finished with right around 720, and they are currently sitting at 775. And that does not include the 63 kids that are at Tower View. So those numbers, right now, like I say, they look good. I never want to count those chickens until we end up seeing each of those kids. But we have people coming in the door every day, and they're coming in from all over. We have people that are new to the community. We have a fair number of students that have been open enrolling with us from surrounding communities. So that's been something that's been nice to see. The one area that we have not finished up yet, but as of today, I think there was 136 or 137 kids in kindergarten. We had projected 150. Mr. Pagel was pretty confident that we're going to end up getting right close to that 150 mark, but being up 80 from what I thought, and despite being down by 13 at the kindergarten level, I mean, I'm really pleased with how that ends up looking right now. So, like I say, we'll see where we all end up. I'll give you some updated projections later on, but right now, it does look like we will not only be not down, we might actually be up by a few students, and that hasn't happened for quite a long time. So I'm very encouraged.
I think that's great news, and we've been talking about the change in the school, the positivity, the positive things going on, the great things, the flight path, the Reverend Promise, and the culture in the schools, with Mr. Fuchs, Mr. Bierman, Ms. Grove, Mr. Pagel, and Ms. Pagel, Howard View, and Ms. Norton at Caldwell. It starts at the top, including you.
Well, no, I'm very wrong, can't explain.
You're out in the public, you're out in the visible. Let's just keep building on that.
Yeah, well, that's
I
our
think
goal.
that's great.
So like I said, I'm very encouraged by the numbers today. And again, they can shift, as things go. But right now, it looks good.
Is there any way to project the kindergarten? I mean, how do we do that?
So what we end up doing in large part, and if we end up putting together a strong P4 program, that's gonna help immensely, because that's gonna solidify those numbers as far as projections. So what we end up doing, like I say, our best estimate last spring was we were gonna have 150 kindergartners. That is all based on some of the students that we have at Cobble, kind of historic projections, kind of what those trends are. We look at birth rates, so a bunch of things go into that. But at the end of the day, it's still just I think that's what my number is.
Because a lot could be parents holding back
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
birth dates on that, or do we know if people are going elsewhere in kindergarten or not?
Well, there's still been some, but not anywhere near where we were. Also, Bill, what's it? Feel pretty good about that.
Good.
So that's all I have for that.
All right. Any further discussion on superintendent comments? All right, let's move on to business items, ancillary benefits.
Okay, so with the ancillary benefits, you should have a color-coded sheet that is kind of there for you. And we have some individuals that are with us online. Jake, Jake, I don't believe I've met you before. Oh, there's Lynn.
Yep. Hi, Bob.
Hi. So, if you would kind of take us through this, give us kind of the 5-10 minute summary on this, because we want to be able to understand what this is, and what this ancillary benefits include.
Absolutely. I'll kick this off, and I apologize. I was at another meeting, so I'm doing this from a phone in a parking lot right now. And Jake is at his computer, so he'll be able to pull up the spreadsheets and answer specific questions. But where this all started, in January 1st, 2026, the state of Minnesota is requiring all employers to provide paid family medical leave for their employees. And in order to take a look at all the options for the Red Wing School District, including looking at private carriers for the public option, most of the private carriers are requiring at least one line of additional coverage to offer a PFML quote. So we thought there was a great opportunity to go out and look at all the ancillary benefits, which effectively mean everything other than your major medical group insurance policy. And so when we did that, the process goes like this. We send out a public notice through the Republican Eagle, soliciting bids from any carrier they'd be willing to provide. And then we also proactively go out to all the carriers that are essentially writing business for public sector employees actively in the state of Minnesota. When we did that, Jake, as I'm talking, maybe you could share the front page of who we solicited and who declined to quote. We received quotes back from a handful of providers, and a few providers, through various different reasons, primarily felt that they were not going to be competitive with their offers, declined to quote. Once we looked at those, we had meetings with the Labor Management Committee and the administrative team of the Red Wing School District to try and zero in on those individual carriers that we thought might have some value to provide to the employees of the Red Wing School District, and had 3 finalists selected. As we went through that process, we were looking at what would make the most sense. Because PFML is a brand new benefit being offered, there are a lot of unknowns. We don't know for sure how the state program is going to operate and how effective they are going to be at adjudicating claims and paying. We really don't know that for sure on the private side. However, we do have a pretty good understanding when we look at their ability to pay short-term disability claims and their process for adjudicating. And so when we looked at some of those different elements, and then when you look at this from an employee standpoint, what it would look like to potentially be hurt sliding on ice and having PFML, and then potentially short-term disability and other elements commingled together, it was determined to try and look at a way to bundle these all together. And at the end, the most financially viable option that provided savings to the district across the ancillary benefits, and then a slight differential between the public and private, was to put all the benefits with MetLife. The biggest new dollar amount there is the PFML funding. The PFML funding for the public offering is at 0.88%. The MetLife funding is at 0.91. And that does equate to about, I think, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's about a $4,700 additional cost.
It's closer to
district.
4,900.
49. Thank you, Jake, for correcting me. But it's just under $5,000. But the administrative benefit of putting it all in with one carrier, having one bill, having one claim, if you're an individual employee, was looked at very favorably. And that is the recommendation to the school board from the LMC and from the administrative team at Red Wing Schools.
I just want to clarify one thing. The LMC didn't get a vote on this. They vote on medical insurance, but not these ones. So while we let them know what our finalist recommendation was going to be, they didn't get to give a vote or input in that way.
So
Just
it's,
want to clarify that.
so my recommendation that for the ancillary benefits going forward, that they accept the quote here from MetLife. So that's the green one on the far right, if you've got really good eyes and can see real well.
Leonard, Jay, can you repeat what the difference was there with the public offer?
About $4,900, the rate there was 0.88 versus 0.91.
And the good news was that overall, when you look at the current benefits they're offering, there is an actual reduction in all of those line items. And part of the nice thing, if you call this, I will say that the carriers look at this, $1 coming in premium, whether it's for PFML, life insurance, STD, it does help to mitigate increases in one line or the other. So we do think that by adding the premium of PFML will hopefully help to stabilize the other ancillary coverages going forward. And Jay, could you, the other lines, there is actually a decrease of how much when you look at those all together?
So compared to current MetLife, if you bundled everything with MetLife, it'd be about $20,500 savings. That's from current. If they stayed with their current carrier at renewal, because we got some renewal rates too, it'd be closer to about $37,000 in savings. One other thing I wanted to point out about bundling with MetLife is that if you bundle 2 or more core lines of coverage with them, they offer a 2-year rate guarantee on that PFML rate. So even though you might pay a little more this year, you would expect that state PFML rate to go up next year. So you may see savings in 2027 on that line of coverage.
Just refresh everybody that's listening out here too, where does dollars come from?
So,
Employees, for school,
so on these ancillary benefits, I mean, there's a combination, it kind of depends on your classification, kind of which of these you end up with, but some of these are borne by the employees, but some of this is part of the benefit that's paid for by the district.
one part of the benefit package.
Yep.
So there's a savings.
Yep.
For the school district and for the people, employees that choose to enroll in those optional benefits.
That's our best value.
I move to award the 1/1/2026 ancillary, is that right?
Ancillary.
Okay, insurance bid to MetLife as presented.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Bryant, seconded by Ms. Tiff. To do a roll call vote. Mr. Bryant, start us off. Therese,
Aye.
Kayla.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
and I will also vote aye. Resolution passes.
Hey, Lynn, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Is Jake the new Logan?
He is a newer member of our team. Logan is still with us. Logan
Okay.
is actually fishing in Canada, so he was not able to join us today.
Wish I was fishing in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn and Jake, we appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is the second reading of policies 620, 621.
So with this, we had the first reading last month, we'll have this one, and then we would recommend this for approval up in September. So my recommendation to approve that second reading.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Schoenfelder, seconded by Ms. Bjornstead. Any conversation on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. MSBA legislative resolution topics.
So we do have a little bit of time, we can actually complete this work in September, because we've got a couple of days that we can get that submitted. But some of the things that have been mentioned here before is that we'd like to be able to seek some sort of relief or some sort of accurate measure, a more accurate indication and picture of reporting of MC agents. Is that fair to say that was something that we had talked about?
Yes.
So primarily including, the percentage of kids that you have that elect to not participate in the test, because that definitely impacts your overall results pretty significantly. So something along those lines. The other piece that that I will be recommending, I've got some sample information that I'd like to look over when we get to the workshop, regarding a lot of the work that we're gonna be doing around this new AI initiative. So right now, the policy that exists is policy 524, we would be seeking to update that policy to more accurately reflect some of the stuff that's coming down the pike. So, those would be two areas that I would recommend that we look at more closely. Has anybody got anything else that,
Well, I know we did this last year, but I don't know if it's worth bringing up again, some of the unfunded mandates. If they're either funded or some of those mandates, maybe, I don't know if that's for us to look through and decide.
well, for
Some
us,
are
I
released.
think our goal would be to, so all of those things would be things that we'd support. Those unfunded mandates, a lot of those are items that are always on the MSBA agenda, so I believe that we would end up supporting those efforts. I think what, for our purposes, these are two things that are not necessarily on the books as they exist, is why we would be trying to get some relief on that.
With these unfunded mandates for some of us newer board members, can anyone kind of expand on what those are and how many of them are, and how it just affects the school board? I mean,
That's a really, really
loaded
lengthy.
question.
I can give a recent example.
Okay, so just as simple.
So here's a recent example with the READ Act, and we did not know about it until April this year, is there's a new requirement for dyslexia screening. The state picked the one vendor that every district can use called CAPTI Read Basics. So this is an unfunded mandate that is now gonna cost us about $8,000 a year. And so that came out of a curriculum budget that our budget didn't decrease. That just now comes out of that, and that is a state mandate that we had to start this school year. And that have affected every district in the state of Minnesota.
And there's, probably need to put that together because there's a whole lengthy list of unfunded mandates. Because at one point, I think there was a list that was compiled and it was like 63.
Yeah, but that's just an example of a recent one
Sure.
that came up.
And another one is, and I think like the lunch is that's not unfunded, that's.
No, that one's funded, so we're in good shape there. That's one that's taken forth, but you've got things that are coming up related to the Family Medical Leave Act. There's a bunch of pieces there. Unemployment in the summertime is funded right now, but it's not set to be funded in the future. There's a lot of expenditures that are going to end up coming online for us as we go forward.
There's, was a judge just recently gave an order down about the bills that are passed in the legislature being too, I don't know if the word generous is, but more, weren't overdone, you know, too much giving up and different things. And so this is a good topic to discuss with our legislatures too, is the unfunded mandates. The other thing is on the MCAs. I agree with you. However they want to report it, they can report it, the kids that took it, or the kids that took it and the kids that didn't take it. But I think it'd be easier just to say, just let us, just report what number of children in that grade area took the test. And this is what their score was. That would be easier than saying, well, 24 didn't take it, but this did, and this is what we got. Or just say 74 kids took it and they got this score. And that would be probably the simplest and easiest way to let the public know.
Or wouldn't it be easier to just require the kids to take it?
Yes.
Like other states, then you don't even have to break it down.
It'd be nice.
So that's where that sits. The part of the risk in, part of the pushback on that is then there's going to be the perception that school districts are cherry picking which kids end up taking the tests. And that's not true, but that's what the perception ends up being.
So just don't take them, just drop them.
You know?
That'd be the easiest.
Yeah, what if no one took them?
That's got some impact.
Yeah, that's
I know
a
that-
dream that I let die a long
There's gotta be
time
different,
ago.
there's gotta be different ways to gauge funding than through an MCA test.
Right.
And we're not even sure the funding's gonna be there on the federal level either. That's the other issue, is that's the biggest one, I think, not the biggest one, that's another one we should be looking at is, if the federal government doesn't fund the things that they are supposed to be funding, how is the state gonna take in or step in? And
Are they gonna, or is it just gonna end up,
is it
we're
gonna
gonna have
be,
to figure it out and we're gonna end up with shortfalls?
it's another tax burden on our local citizens if they wanna have those things.
So we'll work on that a little bit more. I'll have some sample language for you in the workshop, and then we'll have something formal.
I got one maybe for us to think about and bring back. The state could allow us to start school before Labor Day. And I know the northern states, the northern people up there have some pull on that, but states around us, we're in Wisconsin and Iowa's right down there, North Dakota. I don't know when, but Wisconsin starts this week. Stillwater started last Thursday. So, I mean, schools in Minnesota do start, I don't know how they get they
So if you've got over $400,000 of capital expenditures that
I know.
could, disrupt your cycle in school, then you can start earlier, but otherwise you can't. We did get some relief on that for the next 2 years because Labor Day was so late, but myself, I would really like to be able to start earlier. Kids get started with their activities, mom and dad drop them off, or for practice in the morning, and then let's just have
And then you got the other part of it, our kids that are competing for summer employment, we still be in school, kids in other states around us are able to go do that. So I think it's just weird that the state can dictate what, only because of construction projects that you can start early. And you have a date prior to it, but don't say you can't start. You can elect to start by the 25th or something. If you choose anything, 25th and Labor Day. It's a lot simpler than come up with all kinds of excuses to
I agree with that. I know, that's been one that we've been pushing that rock for a long time.
How does that look? Do we get done earlier or just have more school days?
Well, it depends on how you end up doing. So you may end up, so if you started, my perfect world would be able to start 3 days this week. Make sure you've got Friday off on Labor Day weekend. But you get 3 days in, you kind of get things rolling, moving along, and then Monday. So right now, we've got 167 student contact days. I'd like to have just 3 more days in there. It also gives you more flexibility in the event that old man winter kicks you, and one of these years that's gonna happen. So, yeah, I agree.
Makes sense, but not everything coming out of St. Paul makes sense.
We'll work on that.
All right. Any further discussion on the resolution topics? All right, let's go to the restrictive procedure plan.
So every year you have to approve a restrictive procedures plan. So what that involves, this is primarily for students with special needs who may end up being placed in a more restrictive environment than a regular classroom. Okay, that doesn't mean that they are fully restrained. It just means that they are in the least restrictive environment. There are times where a student, in order to protect himself, protect them from themselves or protect others, may sometimes need to be placed in a more restricted environment. Okay, so this plan goes through to kind of set what those terms are. So it'll be my recommendation that we approve the restricted procedures plan for the upcoming school year. Not really, nothing substantive.
I make a motion to approve the 25-26 restrictive procedures plan.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Schoenfelder, seconded by Ms. Tift. All those in favor on the 25-26 restrictive procedure plan, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, truth and taxation hearing date and update for the meeting schedule.
So on this, we have to get our truth and taxation hearing date to the auditors by September 30th. So we looked at the calendar. The recommendation is that we have the truth and taxation meeting in conjunction with a regularly scheduled board meeting. Our regularly scheduled board meeting should have been on December 22nd, given its proximity to Christmas. That was a little bit of a challenge. So we'd like to move that up by a week. So we would move our December 22nd meeting to December 15th. And that would be the date for the truth and taxation hearing.
So we would have a workshop on the 7th, the 8th, and then the truth and taxation regular meeting a week later. Okay.
And that can all be done as one motion.
Yeah. So, do I have a motion to approve the meeting update to move the December 22nd regularly scheduled business meeting to December 15th?
Yes, so
All right, how about a second? Motion by Ms. Schoenfelder, seconded by Ms. Anderson. This will be a roll call vote. Jim, how do you vote?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. Resolution carries. Alright. Next up, approval of the custodian agreement for 25 through 27.
So the custodians, we got working with them, they were the first group to kind of get going with us. Managed to get this done before Lisa completely left, so there was a little bit of a hitch in that as far as getting going on some of our upcoming negotiations. The cordial negotiation, that went smoothly. Jennifer, Jim was involved with that to a certain degree, and Jeremy. So the proposal that we ended up with, that contract, so in the first year, there's a 3% increase on the salary. The second year was 3.5% increase on the salary. There was a little bit of change on the clothing allowance. So that ended up, that wasn't that significant, and there was a relatively small change on the health insurance contribution. So Jennifer, do you have anything that you care to add to that?
You know, it went very well. It was really great to work with them. Their main concern was insurance and the yearly amount. So there were no changes to any of the other pieces to it. So that made it simple.
Once we got to that point.
Yeah.
That'd be my recommendation to approve that contract. The custodial group already did vote, and they have ratified it on their side.
Do I have a motion to approve the custodial agreement?
Sorry.
Motion by Ms. Tiff, seconded by Mr. Bryant. Roll call vote. Rachel.
Aye.
Jennifer.
Aye.
Kayla.
Aye.
Therese.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
I will also vote aye. Resolution passes. All right, now, we're gonna close this session to do the superintendent evaluation. So,
I move to meet with the superintendent in a closed session to evaluate the superintendent for Minnesota statute 13D.05.
what Jim said. All right, motion by Mr. Bryan, seconded by Ms. Tiff. With that, we are gonna take we're gonna close the session out.
Need to call the question.
I'm sorry. Voice vote.
Just one more thing. We will reconvene the regular meeting to close. So,
Any further discussion on this motion? Jim?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Resolution passes. Closed. All right, so board members, we have to sign out of this one and sign into the other one.
Just my old days here, Mr. Mayor.